In 2019, a company named WeWork was valued at $47 billion. By 2023, it was entirely bankrupt. But the most surprising part of this collapse is who walked away rich. The man who drove the company directly into the ground left as a billionaire, while his employees and early investors lost nearly everything. To understand how that happened, we have to look at what WeWork actually sold. Their core product was incredibly simple. They rented large, empty floors of office buildings, decorated them with trendy furniture and free beer taps, and then subleased the individual desks to freelancers and small businesses. WeWork failed, yes, but looking closely at the math and the deals, we find something else entirely. This was a completely legal financial heist hiding behind the label of a revolutionary startup. The entire business ran on a concept called rent arbitrage. WeWork would sign a massive 15-year commercial lease to lock down a building. Then they would rent out those desks to individuals on short, month-to-month agreements. Think of it like renting a massive mansion for a decade and relying on weekend Airbnb guests to cover your monthly payment. If the economy dips and those weekend guests decide to leave, you are still legally bound to pay the mansion's massive rent. That is a highly risky traditional real estate model. To hide that massive financial risk from potential investors, WeWork branded itself as an innovative tech company. Wall Street values true tech companies at massive numbers because software is cheap to duplicate and scale globally. Traditional real estate companies receive modest, boring valuations because physical buildings are incredibly expensive to maintain and operate. By labeling their desk rental business as a space-as-a-service software platform, WeWork bypassed the strict financial scrutiny applied to real estate. That single phrase acted as a magic trick, securing billions of dollars in venture capital. The architect of this illusion was CEO Adam Neumann. He was highly charismatic and deeply unconventional. Instead of talking about profit margins, he threw tequila parties in the office and told investors his company existed to elevate the world's consciousness. Neumann possessed a reality distortion field. He created a cult-like culture inside the office, which triggered an extreme fear of missing out among elite Wall Street investors. Everyone wanted a piece of the magic. This hype peaked when SoftBank's Vision Fund, a massive investment group, decided to pour billions of dollars into WeWork. They made this decision based largely on Neumann's infectious energy, rather than a deep look at his actual spreadsheets. Injecting billions of dollars into a company driven entirely by one man's charm removed the final layer of adult supervision. There was so much cash available that financial accountability simply vanished. Inside the company, the lack of an independent board of directors allowed Neumann to treat the corporate treasury like his personal checking account. The company began spending recklessly. For example, they purchased a luxury private jet and invested heavily in side businesses that had absolutely nothing to do with renting desks. Then the conflicts of interest began. Neumann personally bought commercial office buildings with his own money. He then turned around and leased those exact same buildings back to WeWork at inflated rates. He even formally trademarked the word "we." When the company rebranded to the We Company, he forced his own business to pay him nearly $6 million in stock just to use the word. These actions reveal a corporate structure built for the systematic enrichment of its founder, leaving the actual business hollow. The turning point arrived when WeWork attempted an initial public offering, or IPO. They wanted to raise even more cash by selling shares on the stock market, but doing so legally required them to open their secret books to the public. The math inside that public filing was a shock. It proved WeWork was an extremely expensive landlord actively losing nearly $2 billion every single year. This table compares WeWork with a traditional competitor called IWG. WeWork claimed a $47 billion valuation alongside nearly $2 billion in losses, while IWG actually earned $500 million in profit. Yet IWG, despite a larger physical footprint, was valued 12 times lower. Exposing that raw data instantly shattered the tech illusion. Potential public investors looked at the real estate reality, panicked, and refused to buy in. The fallout was swift. The IPO was completely scrapped. That $47 billion valuation evaporated, and the company eventually filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy because they simply could not pay their massive rent debts. Neumann was forced out of the company, but he walked away with hundreds of millions of dollars. The ordinary employees and early believers who trusted the vision were left with nothing. We can draw 3 clear lessons from this collapse. First, do not believe the hype. Adding ping pong tables and a smartphone app to a traditional physical service does not turn it into a highly profitable tech company. Second, absolute founder control is dangerous. Without an independent board of directors to enforce the rules, human greed will consistently override corporate responsibility. And finally, the math always wins. A charismatic pitch and free beer cannot indefinitely hide a business model where more cash flows out than flows in. WeWork stands as a modern warning.